question here is, how do you give legitimacy to your currency if your currency is no longer backed by an asset like gold? At least because before you could say, well, it has legitimacy because it's backed by gold. I mean, sure, you can say it's backed by the world's most powerful military and economy, but I'm talking about something more substantive, like a backing of an asset. So America has a de facto backing of their dollar, and that's an oil. They have this agreement with Saudi Arabia that Saudi Arabia gets to sell their oil as the largest oil producer, but they have to do so in US dollars. And before, it was enforced by the London Gold Pool and the General Agreed Upon Agreements of Trade and Tariffs. That should be GATT, I believe, and it's now enforced by war and military. So we see, how do they enforce this? Well, before it used to be through diplomacy, and now if you do not trade your oil in USDs and try to undermine the legitimacy of the US dollar under this fiat regime, you're going to have some run-ins with the US military. And this is not some crazy conspiracy. I'm actually far from it, but this is an observation. Let me show you. So Iraq, under Saddam Hussein, went off the dollar standard for their oil. They basically said, we're not going to sell our oil in USDs, we'll take it in euros. And that kind of undermined the legitimacy of the US dollar because they no longer were being backed by gold, they were being backed by oil. And Iraq was a large oil producer, and they said, we're going to dump the dollar for the euro. 2003. I guess what happened in the same year? He got executed 3 years later. Syria. They also picked euros over dollars. Syria has switched all of the state's foreign currency transactions to euros from dollars amid a political confrontation with the United States. 2006. I guess what happened to them 6 years later in the Arab Spring. US dollar no longer a quote currency in Venezuela. 2018. Guess what happened to Venezuela? Also had a run-in with the US military. Muammar Gaddafi of Libya tried to implement the gold for oil plan. Basically, he wanted to dump gold, US dollars, and trade oil and gold for African countries, and kind of wanted to create his own gold dinar currency. And again, I have to preface this. This is not some convenient conspiracy, because one could reasonably say, well, there's a correlation between these countries not trading USDs and not wanting to have USDs back in their gold, and this is and correlation doesn't simply imply causation. That could be true, right? You could say, well, you're kind of stretching the fact here. Well, here, I'll say this to you. Don't take it from me. Take it from the horse's mouth. I'm not the one making this claim. A U.S. general made it. 5-star. Look at this. Wesley Clark, and this is this video that some of you might have not seen. It's his famous video of 7 countries in 5 years. And you could say, well, it's a coincidence that you're saying all these things are connected. But here, watch this video. This is Wesley Clark. And his video basically is showing how the United States had this plan of going to 7 countries in 5 years.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon. I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We made the decision we're going to war with Iraq." This was on about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, "No." He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk and picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs from the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
And there you have it. That this is, again, it's not a convenient conspiracy, straight from the horse's mouth about what the true intention and what the geopolitical implications of having a petrodollar is.
About 10